So we've had 2 days of testing on the CROSSOUT test server. I really think the ram damage is a big deal and ties into a lot of what's happening in this test server, because how frustrating is it if you're a hover build or whatever kind of build and you just get bumped into and then there goes half your damn build or whatever because a silly bumper had so much damage. It's going to be a lot harder just to ram into hovers, for example, and take their hovers and leave them on the ground. Just based on this ram damage. Just based on this ram damage here. Young Wang, Fortune, Porcupine, nerf. They're now more accurate. I know sometimes you don't really see these weapons as being needed accuracy necessary or accuracy required, but for what it's worth, you can actually aim these. Fortunes might be used on a Leviathan, for example, because now a Leviathan can actually launch fortunes and hit the target with pretty good accuracy. Porcupines, you might not be able to throw them as far, but you're definitely going to be able to hit your targets a lot easier. The aim is flawless on Porcupines. I like the Tempest changes. I don't really have much to say about that. We tried out the Tempest, and it wasn't too OP. I thought it was going to be like really, really OP, but it was a lot of fun. It was just a lot of fun. The Prosecutor changes, really good. Projectile speed equates to accuracy. I love these cannons for accuracy and their range, so this just makes it a lot better. I guess these have been outshined lately because of the rotation speed buff of the other type of cannons, the Hawks and the Batmen, things like that. Penetration ability, really nice. Really like the Prosecutor changes. Carapace cabin, we didn't really test this a whole lot, but we actually played with the Echo cabin quite a bit, and that was massive. This buff is actually pretty damn huge, so we're definitely going to see, at least the Echo is going to get used a lot more, but we'll see if the Carapace gets used. The Clarinet Toe was a lot of fun. Maybe could use a little bit more damage, but we've seen upwards of 1400, 1600 damage when we played with the Clarinet Toe on the test server over the weekend. The biggest thing that they added was the control of the vehicle now returns to the player in the second phase of the rocket's flight. So when the rocket is launched into unguided flight, you can move your vehicle and kind of prepare to set off your next shot. So that's very interesting, and also a bunch of other buffs: the damage, the penetration. All in all, the Clarinet Toe seen a lot of love. Elephant is probably the star of the update by far. I think everybody kind of agrees with that. The Elephant, just judging by the price, tripling on console, probably I think it tripled, doubled on PC as well. Everyone is going to love the Elephant, and they even tied in, they tied the Elephant, the lore of the game into the Elephant changes. I know there was some pushback a little bit saying that the Elephant was based on an old war model cannon, that what the hell does it have cryogenic damage for? Well, in the lore of the game, they tied in that Scar, who created the Elephant cannon, the Scavengers faction, had came across some Hyperborea technology and tied that in with their Elephant, improving it, giving it the cryogenic effect. So they actually did a really good job. You can find that on the Elephant scorecard. You can see that where they tied in the lore with the description. So that was pretty awesome as well. But yeah, the cryo damage, I love it. I don't love it enough in my current state of the game to spend the amount of coin required for this weapon, but I do like the Elephant changes. I don't like the price increase of the Elephant or the fact that it's locked behind a pack. So maybe the pack will go on sale soon. We'll see a price decrease, but for right now, the Elephant change is pretty badass, and yeah, good luck getting your hands on one. Thresher, we played with the Thresher on Friday, and that was just a lot of fun. Not much to say. It's just freaking fun. Machine gun, grenade launchers, the extra damage, the additional perk stacking is just a lot of fun. Executioner, the added range was really good. Penetration ability was really good. Joules, another one of those weapons that are kind of locked behind packs that I would like to own, but I'm not going to mess around with purple weapons that are locked behind packs unless they're like super, super OP. And this one doesn't really fit the category of incredibly OP, but it is a really fun weapon to have. Flute's definitely a good change. Definitely a good change. Flutes are going to be used quite a bit more. I haven't looked at the price of flutes. I bet the price went up. And they have a hard counter. I think what the Argus counters the flute. Sparks Flash counter the flute. You can shoot the flutes out of the sky. So the flute still has hard counters to deal with. So we might not see it used quite that much, right? But from what I've seen, this is a really good change to the flute. Hitting the target increases the damage, and the bonus stacking up to 5 times. So a lot of good damage potential with the flute. Young Wang, we actually just seen people completely side skirt the nerf and mount them right side up, but underneath the build, or you can mount them sideways. So this doesn't really matter too much. The durability is going up. The perks bonus is increasing with the rarity, so this could become a Young Wang buff. We don't need extra beefy Wangs, but you know, is what it is. It's just gonna take some creativity, and we might see like some sideways hover Wang, maybe, right? The sideways hover Young Wang, because now that hovers are gonna be basically on the ground, you just mount the Young Wang sideways. It's not technically upside down. You can fit the Young Wang in the V form. You know what I mean, on the hovers. That's an idea. We actually didn't really try that idea, but you could definitely work the Young Wang sideways in like a V spider build or a V hover build. Or like I said, you could flip it right side up and just put it underneath your build if you're using Bigfoot wheels or something like that. The Rage and Nerf, my first opinion on this is it's fine. The price decreased to about where a pack only purple should be based on the testing. It's not too bad of a nerf. I mean, it's still going to be a good weapon. So if you bought the pack and you're like really mad that they nerfed it, it's more of a balance, not a nerf. You guys can chime in if you agree with me on that. So if you own this weapon, I wouldn't be mad about it being like, oh my god, it's nerfed into the ground. It's still going to be useful. It's not going to be that, oh my god, this is so meta. I am a god. I am the god of thunder raging. You might not feel that power, but it's a pretty good balance purple pack only item that still is going to have some value to it because it is still good. The rotation speed reduction, you might want to just put it with the oppressor while the oppressor's still good for adding rotation speed. Tachi, I don't know why you guys wanted me to try this so hard, but get remedies. I don't know what to tell you. Okay, for real. So the Tachi, interesting thing about the Tachi to note, if the direction of the vehicle's movement does not match the direction of the Tachi's activation, the length of the damage zone will be significantly increased. So just get Omni Wheels or hovers. That's it. Or any kind of strafing movement part. And then if you like strafe sideways, your frontal Tachis will have longer range. Or if you strafe, whatever. As long as you're not firing in the same direction you're moving, head on, you're fine. So the damage increase is really good. These builds could be fun. They're really cheap weapons, so you guys could have some fun with these. We tried these on Omnis, and that was, in my opinion, was an interesting way to try them, because then you could essentially control the direction of your vehicle and increase the flame damage zone range. Anyway, anyone else have any thoughts about the Tachis? I gave it a fair play. I gave the Tachis a fair try. Okay, I did. I tried it twice today on Sunday. I did. So we got the Jotun. Fine with this. You're just not going to slow down to a crawl anymore. Wait, on the Jotun. Yeah, the Jotun. You're just not going to slow down to a crawl anymore. It was hard to test this with like actual enemies because there was no patrol mode on the test server, but I tried it shooting my own build, and yeah, you could drive through the puddle, no problem. So that might irritate people. Aurora, heating rate reduced. A lot of people were like, this sucks. But the Aurora is really strong with punishers or arbiters or equalizer aspects. They're trying to maybe what they're trying to do is make the Aurora its own like weapon here. I don't know. That's my thoughts. Or tone down the effectiveness, because what I seen EQWS running a Nova Punisher, someone from EQWS, #1 clan battles by the way on PC, running Punisher Aurora with a Nova cabin. So if you think a purple weapon should be used to achieve #1 status in clan battles, then maybe you think it should be left where it is. But it's just a little bit of a nerf. It's not that bad. My first impression of this Aurora nerf is it's not that serious. Not that serious. Spectre 2 damage reduced, perks damage reduced 4 to 3%. It still felt fine. I remember trying this briefly. Spectres have long been, in my opinion, considered like an entry-level clan battle weapon. So a little bit of a nerf, maybe all right. We'll see what they do with it next weekend. I didn't really notice too much of a difference. You guys can let me know how you feel about that. The Monotui, this is actually awesome. I'm excited for that. Not much to say about that. Gonna be awesome. Echo, definitely a shining star. Definitely gonna be a shining star. You guys, I said nonchalantly the Echo's not a big deal, and you guys grilled me for it a little bit, and you were right. You were right. You were right. YouTube chat, you guys were right. This is beautiful. Echo Narwhal is gonna be stupid. Echo Porcupines is gonna be absolutely nutty. Echo Fat Man, what the hell is wrong with you, developers? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. JK, but all jokes aside, this Echo buff is going to be pretty big, and I have some more thoughts about Echo hover builds making sort of a comeback, and how they might make a comeback when we get down to the hover spot. Tracks, you guys killed it for me personally, but you guys got what you wanted. Tracks can turn on a dime now, so you can pretty much instantly stop and then turn left or right with track. So have what you will with that. There's no more drifting tracks anymore. You're not going to be, even the small tracks that are like super drifty. Yeah, they're not going to be, you're not going to be using the Yanami cabinet tracks anymore. Now the Goliath, we didn't really try this out. I'm going to say that because we couldn't try it in battle. I think that's the best way to try it. The durability of attached parts, unless you want to spend like a long time building. We didn't want to spend a long time building, so we didn't try Goliath that much. Perhaps we should have. There might be a this could be huge for leg meta. Perhaps I should have looked more into this in the test server. It's over in like 19 minutes. This could be huge for the people that are putting like Goliath tracks on the front of their damn spider builds. Gyarados felt fine. To be fair, I should have maybe tried these out a little bit more. Next weekend we'll try spiders and Goliath tracks, I think, a little bit harder than we did this weekend, because again, you guys can leave your feedback on Reddit in the comments. I would mainly leave your heartfelt, keep it respectful just for the sake of the dev's sanity on Reddit if they are actually going through and reading it, but leave your feedback on Reddit. And next weekend they're going to be delivering a little bit of changes, slight modifications. We'll admit we didn't try the meat grinders a whole lot. We should have did this a little bit, but we couldn't enter in battle, and I think that's like one of the key things that I would like to do maybe next weekend. Devs, if you're listening to this, if this video ever makes it into the devs' ears, playing patrols or customs. I couldn't try any custom matches because my account was full. I couldn't play patrols because there's no patrol mode. So there's some things that I wanted to try on the test server that I couldn't really try just because I couldn't actually play it in battle, you know. Oh boy, here we go. So the hottest nerf that I would like to give my hot takes of, that we've been talking about this whole stream and all weekend. I've had 2 days to try this out now. I think everything ties in together, and this hover nerf, where the hovers are going to be basically on the ground, is not quite as bad as it meets the eye. Okay, and purely because one benefit, their hovers are going to be extremely stable. Okay, we noticed on the test server that you could ram hovers off all day long, but the hovers just kind of stay floating on the ground. They don't tip over and flip upside down anymore. Hovers are very, very stable because they're lowered to the ground. So that is benefit number one. Another thing I want to tie in everything for, if you guys are leaving devs feedback, I've actually left negative feedback for this change, but I'm changing my mind. I'm changing my mind because when you look at this change all the way up here, we tried this out today. They're taking away the ram damage on all these bumpers, passive melee parts, goblins, gremlins, Dracos, Bastion. So, you remember how frustrating it is if you're a hover build and you have these pesky wheel builds just running into you, literally just doing nothing but being annoying. I am one of those builds, right? Just being freaking annoying, running into you, taking your wheels, taking your hovers, taking your legs. You lose half your build because they had a meta bumper on their build. Well, when you tie in this ram damage reduction, which honestly people have been asking for, I mean, I see it on Reddit, people have been asking for it, and then you tie into the fact that hovers are going to be lower. Well, hovers are going to be more durable in general because this whole ram damage mechanic is changing. So keep that in the back of your mind when you're thinking about all the flight altitude is being reduced. You know how the Meadow Draco builds have those two big bumpers on the side of their build? Well, they barely do any damage anymore. We were watching it do like 25 damage onto the side of a build. So like tying that into this hover nerf is going to be interesting. What I think is going to happen, because the durability is not getting reduced on hovers, right? What is going to happen is you're going to see builds with more hovers. That's it. You have less tonnage. So back a couple years ago, you had builds with like 8 hovers, 10 hovers. You know, the current meta is 4 hovers or 5 hovers or 6 hovers, something ridiculous, like having as little hovers as possible. So we're entering more of an age where you're going to need more hovers to support this tonnage reduction. So it's bad if you just fused a bunch of hovers and the event's gone and you fused barely enough to make a build, or you just fused 4 hovers. You're like, I'm just going to make 1 build and you fused 4. Well, it's going to suck because you're going to need more hovers now to compensate for this tonnage reduction. But I think overall that's going to be even better because your builds are just going to be more stable. And then when it comes to the power of hovers, you're going to lose power because you're adding more hovers. Naturally, you're going to lose power. You're going to see players, I think you're going to see players transition to the Pegasus engine. You might the Pegasus engine, based on having more hovers, so you might have 8 to 10 hovers, you're going to get a good benefit from the Pegasus engine, making the Pegasus a slightly better choice than the Colossus engine for like the really, really big hover builds. Then you have to keep in mind one last final thought for these hover builds. We're having a new module being introduced into the game that is going to increase the power, the speed, and the damage of weapons. So when I thought about hovers getting increased in power, well, you know what? They're fixing that by saying, well, you need more hovers now. I thought it was going to be insanely meta, these super fast hovers with this module, 4 or 5 hover builds. Well, guess what? You're going to need more hovers than that. So it's going to balance out the new module a little bit. The downside is Porcupines are going to absolutely decimate hovers, but we'll get into the Porcupines and how the Porcupine nerf is tying into like literally everything. Like everything is tying in together here. It's a big ass puzzle. This whole like patch note is just one big puzzle. If you look at any one item and say this sucks, but you don't look at the other things around it and try to at least analyze it from the perspective of everything together, it does seem really, really bad. But hovers are being lowered. You're gonna have more hovers. Hover durability is gonna go up. I can guarantee that. Hover builds are gonna be a little bit more durable. Oh yeah, they're gonna be easier to shoot dogs. Hovers being lower to the ground means it's gonna be easier to shoot dogs. No more are dogs gonna be able to get under your build and pushing you around without you being able to shoot it. You're literally gonna be able to face tank hover builds. Not face tank. You're gonna be able to like, yeah, you're gonna have to just face tank it. I'm losing my words here. Losing my words. I can't speak. But yeah, you're not gonna be able to get under hover builds anymore. So dog builds are gonna be easier to shoot at. This sucks for Bigram legs. I don't know, but Bigrams are really meta. Athenas were really cool. I didn't really have much experience with Athena builds before the testing on the test server, but I did notice they basically had no spread when I was moving, which was crazy. So you could use Athenas with a wheel build now, or a hover build. You basically have no spread, which is really awesome. Back to Bigram legs, just because I feel like I need to touch on them a little bit more. They're still going to be good. I don't know. They're not going to be the #1 choice for legs anymore. Potentially. We'll see next weekend what they do. Maybe I'll give Bygrams a little bit more of a thorough test, to be fair, because I really didn't like look at Bygrams nerf a whole lot, like drive it around and pay attention to the tracks. Same with Gyarados legs. So I think next weekend we're gonna probably spend a little bit more time with Gyarados legs and Bygram legs. Body damage. This was actually really good. Not good because Bygrams got nerfed, and I feel like Scotties are gonna rip through the Bygram spiders. Potentially, yeah, just a lot of damage. We were messing around with it, and Scotties were doing a lot of damage. They even had insane range. I mean, we were shooting them, what was it, like 100 meters or so? I don't know exactly how much it was, but we were shooting these things with the arc. You could hit targets from a very long distance, medium range, maybe not long range, say medium range, and do a pretty good amount of damage with the Scotties being buffed. So that's kind of awesome. I just realized that you guys can't see any of this that I'm highlighting. That's terrible. Rip here. Why didn't you guys tell me? You guys didn't tell me. Oh man, I could have made it bigger and everything for you guys. Now we got to do a recut, redo. No, I'm kidding. Harvester, the harvester. Yeah, that was crazy. Harvester's gonna be nutty now. Honestly, guys, with Harvester being on the ground, I wasn't even thinking about that. Good luck, Chuck. Yeah, that's gonna be fun. That's gonna be fun. That makes it so you probably still, the Harvester being this good now makes it so you still probably want to use bumpers. You're still gonna want a bunch of bumpers just to protect against Harvesters. They might not do the passive melee damage, but they still got the passive melee protection. So we're good there. Kaiju we tried numerous times on the test server, and they're just gonna be fun. They could have their place in like a meta. They were really fun on wheel builds now. So yeah, you're gonna see Kaiju's viable with wheel builds. The Cyclone, we can look at that more next week, but this does suck. This is a crappy change for the Cyclone. Again, everyone has been calling for a nerf of the Cyclone. Is this going to be enough, or is it going to be too much? That's the question. Personally, I didn't try it too much, but it did feel kind of bad. So maybe we'll see what they do next week with this. You guys can maybe let the devs know your thoughts more so than mine, and if they see this particular video. You think Cyclones are going to get through it? I mean, I'm going to use Cyclones for the next 3 months. I'm pretty sure I'm going to craft Punishers. So I'm working on 3 Cyclones. I have 3 Cyclones now. I'm working on my 3rd aspect. Draco damage. This is kind of big, guys, honestly. I probably should have tried this with a triple Draco a little bit more. So maybe next week we'll look at the triple Draco better. But this is a pretty big damage reduction of the Dracos. I need to look more into the Dracos next weekend, specifically with the damage reduction. But ultimately, the hovers are going to be on the ground, and the Draco damage is being reduced. So maybe it's not enough. A lot of people say this is not enough damage reduction in Dracos, but consider this. You're multiplying this by the X amount of Dracos. So if it's a triple Draco build, you're taking this damage reduction and multiplying it by 3. That's a 36% damage reduction in the entire build. Or a double Draco build would be a 24% damage reduction. So in the grand scheme of things, hovers are going to be on the ground. Dracos are going to have a much easier time getting hovers. However, is this damage reduction enough? Perhaps we'll test out a little bit more next weekend, see what the devs do. Yokozuna, I didn't do a whole lot of pushing around, but this again is massive when you consider the RAM reduction up here when you tie in the Yokozuna nerf and then the RAM damage nerf. That is going to be big. So that's my thought. That's a big nerf. Again, these are nerfs that a lot of players are asking for, but at the same time is going to piss off everybody who has these things fused. Apollo, I don't have much to say. I didn't shoot the Apollo on the test server. Maybe I could have shot a couple bullets at the Apollo or something, but we didn't test the durability specifically. Scorpion, a welcome buff. Going to be really good. Don't have much to say about that one. There's not, I don't think, much community opinion about this. Definitely looking like a toddler chew toy, for sure. Porcupine, the blast damage reduced. So the Porcupine, I think this nerf comes in tandem with the ram nerf. When you think about it, like, people are really mad about the porcupine nerf. Hovers are going to be lower to the ground. You're going to be able to destroy hovers a lot easier. The biggest counter to porcupines is no longer a hard counter anymore. So that's one thing you have to really consider when you're thinking about this porcupine nerf. At the same time, this is more of a buff. They got rid of the inertia. I think that's a buff. Porcupine players that actually play porcupines on the regular can chime in, but you don't have to just spam porcupines or rely on your vehicle speed to launch your porcupine in a certain direction, or you're not aiming your porcupine based on your vehicle speed. It's just going to be more on the crosshairs and you knowing how far a porcupine shoots. So I think that is going to be really good when you're tying in the young Wang, the fortune inertia buff, and the porcupine buff. I think overall this isn't really a huge nerf. And then when you're tying in, let's go back to it again. We have to go back to it. A nightmare to porcupine builds. The ram damage of pretty much all these passive melee parts is going away. That in itself, I think, is going to be a buff to porcupine builds. So you can kind of let me know your thoughts if you think this is a nerf or not. I think porcupines are just getting a balance, and they're still going to be really good. So that concludes I just did basically a rundown of my final thoughts on all the changes. I think they did a pretty good job of balancing out these changes. I am interested to see what they're going to change next week. I'm interested to see what the community feedback really is. There's going to be a big difference in, I think, the top clans giving feedback versus like the free-to-play player feedback. But I think it's all welcome changes overall.